Greetings, candidates, and welcome to the lesson. Today we turn to the last chapter in the subject communication skills. The chapter is known as Ethics in Communication. This chapter is organized into 7 subchapters. The first one is the role of ethical communication in an organization. Number 2, principles of ethical communication. Number 3, ethical issues in communication. Number 4 is enhancing ethical communication in an organization. Number 5, factors influencing ethical communication. Number 6, ethical dilemmas in communication. And lastly, handling ethical dilemmas in communication. This is what you are expected to cover in the topic ethics in communication. Ethics in communication. Now, before we study the role of ethical communication, we'll define ethics, I'll define communication, I'll define ethical communication. Now, candidates, communication is how a person uses language, how a person uses media, how a person uses, for those who are professionals, how a person uses, say, journalism, and also how a person creates relationships that guide an individual's morals or values. And ethics also consider being aware of the consequences of behavior. The consequences of behavior, and so on. So, candidates, ethical communication is crucial due to its emphasis on the responsibilities of people to keep society civil. And candidates, with the concern of fake news that is becoming more prevalent in the society today because of internet and so on, it is important to adhere to ethical communication. That is very important. And for better communication, for better understanding, the obvious and the subtle issues relating communication is necessary to ensure that the communicator focuses or considers the consequences of the messages that are passed to the audience. Now, let's now turn to the role of ethics in communication. Role of ethics in communication, or role of ethical communication. And before we move on to the first subtopic, which is role of ethical communication, we need to define ethics, because by now, candidates, you understand that communication involves the use of available resources to convey information, to move information, to inspire people, to persuade people, to enlighten people, and so on. And the candidates, regardless of the context, communication involves choice. Communication also reflects values, and communication has consequences. In the process of conveying information, candidates, it's important for you to remember that whatever you communicate will reflect your values, and the messages that you send out will have consequences. And the most important thing to consider or to remember in communication, whether it is at the place of work or school or at home or anywhere, is that you ought to be cautious and thoughtful to the people you are communicating to, regardless of the situation. Such that when communicating or passing a message, it should not be in a way that offends the receivers or the audience. It's important to consider other people's feelings, and also it's important to be as diplomatic as possible. Now, what is ethics? Ethics. Now, candidates, ethics refers to a set of rules that describes acceptable conduct in society. I repeat, ethics refers to a set of rules that describes acceptable conduct in society. Ethics, in other words, serves as a guide to moral daily living and helps us to judge whether our behavior can be justified or not. And communication ethics, on the other hand, is how a person uses language, how a person uses media, and how a person creates relationships that are guided by an individual's morals and values. So what is the role of ethical communication in an organization? That's what we want to study in our today's lesson. Now, the first role, ethical communication can build positive corporate culture. Ethical communication can help build a positive corporate culture. Now, candidates, an organization devoting to, resources to develop policies, to develop procedures that encourage ethical actions builds a positive corporate culture, and thereby improving employees' morale. Because when employees feel protected against retaliation for personal beliefs, then their morale is boosted. And such policies include anti-discriminatory rules. Such policies may include open door policy. It may also include equal opportunities for growth. So when employees feel good about being at work, the overall feeling in the organization is more positive. And that breeds organizational loyalty as well as productivity, because employees feel good about showing up for work. So ethical communication can help to build positive corporate culture. The second role is that ethical communication can reduce financial liabilities. Reduce financial liabilities. Candidates, organizations that don't develop policies on ethical standards risk financial liabilities. And the first liability is reduction in sales. For example, say a real estate development company can lose a customer or can lose a sale if a customer is not well asked or responded to in time. All right? So finding an ethically responsible middle ground is imperative to sway public opinion away from corporate greed and towards environmental responsibility. Because we are talking of ethics, a company that devotes itself to having policies that are also meant to communicate properly to the stakeholders, then there is possibility of reduction in financial liabilities. The third role boosts consumer. Ethical communication can boost consumer confidence. Boosts consumer confidence. Now, candidates, an organization can lose consumer confidence very quickly with a few bad online reviews. And candidates, organizations have to retain consumer loyalty through ethical practices that start with fair and honest advertising methods and also continue through the entire sales process. And one area that organization can lose consumer confidence is failing to honor guarantees or negatively deal with complaints. Remember, we are discussing ethical communication. So when there are complaints about, say, the products or complaints about the services, and the company does not respond to the complaints or issues, then that can cause the consumer confidence to reduce. And that is why consistent policies and employee training is imperative. And companies must direct employees on how to treat customers and also communicate with them according to its core values. When that happens, then consumer confidence or customer confidence is boosted. 4, builds teamwork. Ethical communication can help build teamwork among employees. Now, when everybody's opinion, culture, behavior, and beliefs is respected, then employees can interact freely with each other, and they may also work together to achieve companies' objectives. So ethical communication may require that the beliefs of employees are respected, their values are respected, and that when that happens, the employees are able to work together as a team, teamwork. Another role of ethical communication is in relation to privacy and confidentiality. Respect privacy and confidentiality. Privacy and confidentiality. Most businesses include a clause in their code of ethics defining what is appropriate when it comes to honoring client and employee confidentiality and privacy. And that is, this can have a wide range of implications, including minimizing workplace gossip and mitigating toxic conversations about the private lives of clients and their personnel. So ethical communication can help a company to respect privacy and confidentiality, especially the confidentiality of clients. Because when a company interacts with a client, the company will inevitably get to know or have access to private information or confidential information. So the employees of a company are expected to sign a code of ethics that defines what is appropriate when it comes to honoring client and employee confidentiality. So ethical communication can help in the area of respecting privacy and confidentiality. Yet another role of ethical communication is that it helps people to accept responsibility. Responsibility. All right? Now, candidates, a core tenet within any ethical communication framework is taking responsibility for the actions that result from one's words, whether it's good or bad. And that includes both short-term and long-term consequences of one's communication. So, owning one's words reinforces the importance of being cautious about ethical communication. It's a very important role of ethical communication. Of course, in the beginning, I said that communication or conveying messages comes with consequences. Whatever we say, we need to be aware that we'll take any liability as a result of the information that is relayed out. So these are 6 roles of ethical communication. 6 roles of ethical communication. The first role is that ethical communication helps build corporate culture. Number 2, reduces financial liabilities. We gave an example of where a customer or a client is not responded to in time. It's possible to lose such a client, and that can lead to financial loss or liabilities. Then there is the area on consumer confidence. Consumer confidence. Okay? The confidence of customers can be boosted if a company adheres to ethical communication. It may also help build teamwork. Number 5, can help respect privacy and confidentiality, especially the confidentiality of information that clients give to the company. Then lastly is accepting responsibility. That will mark the end of our today's lesson. I'm going to give you one assignment. Your assignment, explain the role of ethical communication in business. Make sure when answering this question, your notebook is closed. Try and see if you can recall what we have discussed today from your memory. Thank you. God bless you. Bye-bye.